Hello, my name is Patrick Ekdahl and I work as an estate agent at Fastighetsbyrån in Solna. I'm going to explain some of the most important aspects of how the Swedish housing market works. In Sweden, there are mainly three forms of housing to choose from. You can live in your own house, on your own land, and this is referred to as fastighet, and to retain full control over more or less everything that concerns your home. You can also choose to rent your accommodation. In that case, the most common form is a rental apartment. You can live in an apartment and have the right to live there, a so-called bostadsrättslägenhet. You and the other in the building own the property and are part of the bostadsrättsförening. There are exceptions to these forms of housing, for example, ägarlägenheter, a concept where you and your own apartment without a housing cooperative association. This is similar to the form of housing found in many other countries, but is unusual in Sweden. In Sweden, all estate agents are university educated and must be registered with a government supervisory authority, Fastighetsmäklarinspektionen. Our activities are governed by a law called Fastighetsmäklarlagen. No lawyers or legal advisors are required when purchasing a residence in Sweden. The estate agents in Sweden often have the exclusive rights to sell a residence. It is the seller of the residence that engages and pays the estate agents. However, despite this, the estate agent is obligated to safeguard the interests of both the seller and the buyer. This is why no buyer's agents are used in Sweden. In Sweden, there are rules for how much you must repay on your mortgage and a mortgage limit, bolånetak, which means that you may not borrow more than 85% of the property's value. Feel free to talk to different banks so that you receive good information on these rules and the various options available. You should also obtain a written loan commitment from your bank prior to purchasing your home. The estate agent usually states in their advertisement when the viewing will be held. This is called an open viewing. Something which has become more common is to request an advance viewing, where you ask to come before the actual open viewing. This can lead to the property being sold before the open viewing takes place. So if you're interested in a property, it may be wise to notify the estate agent of your interest as soon as possible. In Sweden, a starting price is indicated in the property advertisement. Bidding then occurs relatively often and the price stated in the advertisement is exceeded. However, it may also happen that the closing price is lower than the starting price. A bid in Sweden is not legally binding for the person submitting it. The bid is not binding until both the buyer and the seller have signed a purchase agreement. Nor is the seller obligated to sell at a certain price, and they can also choose to pull out of the sale until signing of the agreement. As buyer of a residence in Sweden, you have a comprehensive duty to investigate, undersökningsplikt. Everything that can be discovered regarding the property's condition is such that you cannot claim as the seller's responsibility. It can be advisable to seek help and engage an inspector to carefully examine the property, but then it is important to understand what is and is not covered by the inspection. If you're buying a house cooperative apartment, the undersökningsplikt also includes the association's finances. Make sure you have access to the most recent annual financial report. Get help from someone who is knowledgeable about finances if you feel unsure. The contract outlines the rules that apply to the deal. For example, when payments are to be made. Firstly, it applies to the down payment. In normal cases, you usually have 7 to 10 days to make a down payment, which generally ends up at 10% of the purchase price. The remainder of the purchase price is paid on the date of taking possession. In a purchasing contract, any conditions of purchasing are specified. In the case of housing cooperative apartments, there is, for example, always the condition that the buyer must be approved by the association. When the contract is being signed, the estate agents need the documents to the buyer's identity. The agent is obligated to do the ID check according to law. The elements that belong to a residence and are therefore included in a purchase is governed by law in Sweden. Examples of things normally left in a residence are wardrobes, the cooker, fridge, freezer, washing machine and a tumble dryer. ask your estate agents for more detailed information. The seller and the buyer can also agree on exceptions from the normal rules, which is then stipulated in the agreement. You take possession on the day you make the payment and get the keys to your new home. It's also then that the buyer has full and complete responsibility of the residence. On the day of taking possession, the buyer and the sellers meet at the estate agent's office or at the buyer's bank. The estate agents present the final documents and make contact with the buyers and the seller's bank. Finally, the estate agent provides a journal of the various steps that the agent has taken during the assignment. We wish you luck with your property transaction and feel free to get in touch with Fastighetsbyrån if you have any questions. More information on buying a home in Sweden can be found at fastighetsbyrån.se/språkstud.